Newry, I'm Rowan Hand. This is James McAreavey of the Newry Maritime Association. It's that time of the week again. And maybe before we talk about anything, James, you would tell me, where in heaven's name do the weeks go?
I don't know, Rowan, and where do the years go? The international ferry service between Warren Point and Omeath, Seascapes, good morning Dolores O'Neill and Warren Point.
Yes, well done. The remaining Red Star man.
Brenton has winded up for another year and returned to Saudi Arabia for his teaching, and will not see Seascapes now till next May when he comes back.
Well,
so that's another year gone.
Another year gone. It just flies round.
Children are back to school. We're on the downhill to Christmas. And Rowan's a year older.
Oh, I feel it. Look at me. I'm dead. I'm not good, I tell you. Listen, James, you've been on the ocean. A windy night was blowing on Rome. The cressets guttered in Caesar's home. The fish boats moored to the bridge were breaking. The raging river to yellow foam. It was rough.
Brother McGee would be proud of you.
Oh, I tell you. And Paddy
Arthur.
Paddy Arthur Crinion.
Yeah.
My last memory of Paddy Arthur Crinion in the year that Ronnie Delaney won in Melbourne.
Very good.
I'm coming through the tape, winning the 880 yards in the Abbey.
Lovely.
And a collapse. And Paddy Arthur says, oh, Jesus, it's Ronnie Delaney. So that was Paddy Arthur's country. God love him, he's a great scholar of the Irish.
And a reminisce about the old alma mater wouldn't be complete without mention of James Haffey.
James Haffey was one of the gentlemen of that school. He came in, he farmed in the morning, and he farmed in the evening, and he came in the middle and he taught. He might have had cow dung on his brown boots, but by God, he taught well. And I to this day, I would think of James Haffey, I would think of brother, what was his name?
There was McGee, O'Hara.
No, the man I'm thinking of, he died very, very young. He was the English teacher there. He went, and I loved him. He was very, very good. But Haffey was there, and beyond that, it's very hard to think of anyone that I really think. I escaped. You stayed, did you?
Well, I was there for a while, but...
I got out at junior.
I always remember, my last memory of Jimmy Haffey was...
McFarlane is the brother I was seeking.
Brother McFarlane, yeah. Using coloured chalk on the board to draw maps.
Yeah.
You know.
And he is a great man. You know, he's a Newry man.
Still going strong.
He is indeed. I see him driving around. He's a huge man altogether. But listen to me, we'll get away from school. One of the time I swam across Carlingford Loch when I was a young man in February time, from Carlingford to Warren Point, the Christian Brothers rowing boat was there with a crew of 4 Christian brothers pulling on the oars as our safety boat. Do you remember the rowing boat they had?
No.
They kept it down next to Murphy's foul yard down there.
Yeah.
That's the thing there. But listen to me, back to the sea. You have been across the ocean in rough weather. Paddy was with you, your mate from, what's his name, Paddy McCann.
Yes, Paddy
was there too. Paddy said to me, this is a quotation. Paddy said to me, Jesus, I was at sea all my life, and did I think I was coming home to be drowned, he said. On the way over on that boat, it was bad. He said it was bad. Well, how bad was it?
Well, for a man
first of all, it was the Soteria, a schooner.
The Soteria, and as the viewers know, that's a translation from the Latin salvation. Do you see
the way he's just buttered you up? As the viewers know. You smarmy old... now, what was it like?
Worse than awful.
Worse than awful.
As Paddy,
we should totally reef down.
Paddy, for a man like you, with sailing experience, you probably wouldn't have thought anything of it. But we were dealing with the unknown. Now, Paddy has nearly 30 years sea experience behind him, and he said he never witnessed anything like it in his life. But for Chris Wren, the skipper,
no bother.
It was no bother.
He had her well reefed down, I'd say.
Force 9.
Yeah. Was he running? Well, that's above gale. That's one up from gale force. So he's into the gale situation.
And we were 40 degrees to the port side.
Yeah. Well, had he all the canvas off, Was he running on bare poles, or had he the canvas reefed?
No, he had the canvas reefed.
Reefed. So
me and sail down to half.
Yeah. Well, you see, that's the way judgment has to be made, because if you get rid of all canvas, you'll simply bob around like a tennis ball in the ocean. But if you don't if you do get rid of all the canvas, you're out in the ocean for longer and exposed to danger for longer.
Mm-hmm.
But you got there, you left. Tell us the story of the journey. You left.
We left
Fadham
from Victoria Lock at 2 o'clock, and we arrived at Skerries at 12 o'clock that night.
Yes.
And we anchored for 3 hours or 3.5 hours, and it was a lovely sunny morning on the Thursday morning, and we set sail for Holyhead.
Yes, that's nice.
That was lovely. It was beautiful. The sun glistening on Skerry Bay, and
oh gosh,
the yachts
mountains of
lying
in the
about,
distance,
and the mountains of Mourne in the distance, and
the hint of the Isle of Man.
Unfortunately, we couldn't see anything on the westerly side. But anyway, cut a long story short, out into the Irish Sea, and all hell broke loose. And the hours went on, and the hours went on.
Keep going.
And Paddy was saying, Jesus, this is terrible. Never witnessed anything like this in my life, and I thought, God, it must be bad when he's talking like that. So anyway, it got that bad that I said to Paddy, time to go below, Paddy, because at the end of the day, Paddy's a man 79 years of age. So myself and himself went down below. And we're lying
I'm
back.
sorry, I'm laughing.
And Paddy's regaling me with stories of getting hammered in fishers' boats, and the Oak in particular. He said, like, ask Mickey Fern, he said. The Oak would have rolled, he said, to the navigation lights were tipping the water, he said, but nothing like this. And I thought, God,
Sweet
you know.
God.
So the next thing, a massive wave broke over the top of us and came in through the sky. And Paddy said, there you go. There you go, he said. So it was about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And this, we had been out since 6:30 that morning.
Yeah.
So, it was horrendous. Pots and pans crashing about.
Yeah.
The dinner the day before had shot out of the oven.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the dinner the day before it shot out of our stomachs. Projectile vomiting was the order of the day.
We decided to have a lay down in the bunk as best we could. And about an hour later...
I'm sorry, I'm laughing.
About an hour later, I was awakened with Paddy right beside me, and he said, get up, James, get up, get up. Jesus. I said, what's wrong, Paddy? This boat's on its side.
Whoa.
This boat's on its side. He said, we've got to get out of here. They must have awakened us. And I said, Jesus, Paddy. Whoa. And I looked out and I could see the blue sky, and I thought, well, and we're not upside down.
No, we're not.
We can see the sky.
Here, see, yeah.
And I said, Paddy, you're having a nightmare or something. Go back to sleep. And he said, oh God, he said, to think of all my years at sea, and I had to come here to be drowned. And I thought, oh Christ, you know.
Then came the morrow, the dawning of a new day.
We eventually got to Holyhead at 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
So it took about 15 hours to get across to Holyhead.
It doesn't surprise me.
So the next morning we had a drop of tea and we headed up the town, and I said, Paddy, I'm nearly sure Irish ferries have a sailing at about 2:30.
Yes.
He said, that's where we're going, he said. That's where we're going.
Were you destined to stay with the Soteria?
We were supposed to stay, but that was blowing a gale.
Yeah.
So up we goes to Irish ferries, and a very nice looking girl, and I said, excuse me, I said, but my elderly father-in-law said needs to get home urgently. And she said, oh, certainly, sir. And Paddy was standing behind me watching with a stick, and he's watching. And she said, that'll be £62, please. And Paddy says, is that £62 a piece? I said, no, Paddy, £31 a piece. He said, I would have paid £262 to get home.
But listen to me, the best is now coming, and the best is still to come, because the stories that will be told about this in all the years to come, oh my goodness.
So we came back on Ulysses,
yes,
laid back, deck 11, and Paddy was more than
gins and tonics,
pleased.
Or something.
No, he restricted himself to a black coffee, you know.
I think that's the greatest story ever.
And then, small world, we met a retired customs man from Connemara.
Wow.
Who had manned the Ferry Hill custom post at
Oh, for
Omeath.
goodness sake, down the way from us, yeah.
And he was inquiring about various fellas about the border and one thing and another.
Yes.
And we had great crack with him.
My goodness. But that's
So that was our trip to Holyhead. So Soteria is back in Uri.
Good.
She's going to be doing trips for the European Flower weekend.
Yes.
We have organised that for the 13th and 14th of September. If anybody wants tickets, they're £10 each from Newry 2020 at the Sugar Club in Sugar Island. And then on Sunday, the 14th, we're doing a trip on the canal as a thank you to the Camla Brass and Reed Band for the services that they provided for the visit of the Lord Mayor of Bolton and the John Mitchell Day in Drumlane.
Absolutely.
So,
no mention of the Bessbrook Band would be complete without recalling the excellence and the musicality of Andrew, who's in Bessbrook.
Andrew Moore, a great
wonderful
friend of yours,
being.
and
lovely man.
He inquires about you regularly, Rowan.
Well, he's very, very decent and very kind.
And one of the highlights of the day in Bessbrook was the magnificent singing of his sister Kathleen. And the very positive comments that were drawn that day. She sang beautifully.
Yes.
And Andrew was on the big drum, keeping time, as he always does.
Yeah. We sometimes see the minister for Danny Kennedy playing the big drum.
Danny
plays the big drum.
Danny plays with Tully Vallon Band.
He does.
And last August, Rowan, not August past, but August 2013, we unveiled a monument to the people lost on the Alder.
I remember it, surely.
Victoria Lough. And Danny Kennedy attended with Andy Moffat.
Yes.
And the boys in the Camla Band were having a bit of banter with him at the end, and they said, Danny, why don't you come up and play the big drum with us?
And he did.
And he said, do you know something? He said, it's something I wanted to do all my life, he
said.
And up he got, and the boys played away. I forget what it was they played, and Danny was there.
Fantastic.
Beating the drum, you know. But speaking of Danny, we were in Belfast on Monday, Rowan. We had a meeting with Danny in his role as Minister for Rural Development.
Yes.
Or Regional Development.
Yes.
And to do with the heritage programme that we're bringing about for the Clog Roundabout.
Wow, yes.
You'll recall Eddie Quinn and the Gates.
Yes. Yep.
Well, that is very much a live and ongoing project.
No, this doesn't surprise me.
And the Connolly family, who lived across the road from Clog Chapel, were blacksmiths. They did a lot of work around Clog Chapel. The railings of the grotto, the lovely grotto up there, were made by Tommy Connolly.
Yes, yeah.
And he made gates for Eddie Quinn's mother a century ago. His name is branded on them.
My goodness.
Eddie, as you know, donated the gates. Mickey Mallon refurbished them.
Yeah, yeah.
And we intend to site them on the Clog Roundabout as the Gateway to Newry. That's is the name of the project.
What a beautiful idea.
And they'll be hung on two circular white piers with the round tops.
It's not too much to say that you are changing the face of Newry in your work with the Maritime Association. Well, we've now great memorabilia there.
We're trying to regenerate Rowan as much as possible and, showcase times past and the contribution of people. I mean, the Connolly family, listening to the older people like Eddie Quinn talking about the invaluable contribution that they made to the community, making farm implements, fixing farm implements, shoeing horses. And of course, the classic tale that Eddie Quinn told us here about Paddy Connolly putting the frost nails into the horses, into the shoes, on a frosty morning so that they would get down the hill into Newry.
Sure, they're still doing it with chains and tires of cars.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're talking about days when there's no such thing as a JCB. All the work had to be done with picks and shovels. Same way as the canal was dug out with picks and shovels.
I suppose the like of the forge at the confluence of roads up at Clogbridge was the forerunner to a modern day service station.
Absolutely.
Everything was done in the forge.
I'm right. I see the forge in my mind's eye. I see the horseshoe-shaped door into it. Just down where there's a shop today.
Just above that.
Yeah.
Just above, but that's where it was on the same side.
Yeah. Isn't it a pity that that ever slipped away?
There you are.
But that was before you were on the scene.
Oh yeah, Paddy Connolly was finished at the very early 60s. You know. But they had been there for almost 100 years. You know, like Clog Chapel was opened in 1916, and Tommy Connolly was a blacksmith then when the chapel opened. So the family had an ongoing link through the son Paddy.
Yes.
And in fact, they are buried in the cemetery.
My goodness.
As is Eddie Quinn's mother, of course.
Right, we're going to leave it there. You've been fantastic as always. We're very glad that you survived the sea, the ocean. And do you know where we're going to go? Ryan's going to get us something here now. We have we'll go straight to this, Ryan. No, we'll go to music and in a moment, and then we'll do our next piece. The next piece is going to be Anne Hales of the Irish News. Anne was with me a week ago, and Dr. Licia Troughton, the artist who did the Lennon Memorial.
Lovely lady.
Lovely lady, a very solid human being. And we were shooting the breeze here with Anne Hales and with Licia, and people have been asking to hear it again because Anne remembers the early days of Ulster television, and Brian Durkin from Warren Point, the first newsreader. Yeah. And she recalls all of that.
Tommy Markey.
Sean Markey.
Sean Markey.
Yeah, Tommy might have been his father. He was from Drummalane.
He was from Drummalane. His father was Danny.
That's right. That's right. That's right. We remember them all. So music now, if you would, Ryan, and thank you for coming in.
Thank you,
Go
Ron.
well. God bless
you.
Thank you.